Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Tim Hedrick, live from Moscow, Ohio. It's been just 5 days since tornadoes visited our area. Towns were shredded with 160-mile-per-hour winds Friday. Countrysides were ravaged, families displaced, and loved ones were lost. Our thoughts and prayers are with those out there tonight without homes and those struggling with the loss of someone dear. During the next 30 minutes, we'll take you through tornado-ravaged areas in southeastern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and southwestern Ohio. The Local 12 weather team will show you signatures on radar which screamed tornado. We want to help anyone out there without a severe weather plan. We want to make you make the decisions that could help you save a life. While our March 2nd tornadoes avoided major population centers, they consumed small towns and annihilated the tri-state landscape. The stage was set, however, days before the first thunderstorm ever developed.
I've been working with you for a long time. I can tell when something's up. Friday's not a good day, is it?
Friday doesn't look good right now. The models could change, but right now all the dynamics are all there. Everything in the atmosphere is coming together fairly nicely for some severe weather. We're going to have to watch it carefully. On Thursday, the Storms Prediction Center issued a moderate risk for severe weather for Friday. By Friday, it was a high risk, and things did come together on Friday. Supercell thunderstorms with confirmed tornadoes developed to our southwest early Friday afternoon and raced into our area at 60 miles an hour. They created golf ball size hail and tornadoes. In the blink of an eye, huge trees were uprooted, snapped off at the ground or a couple of feet up. Entire homes were swept off their foundation. Small towns were engulfed by tornadoes spanning a quarter-mile wide. Tornadoes cut past 10 to 20 miles long. Tonight, as we work to learn more about this tragedy, we hope you will take some action to help our youngest victims. The Neediest Kids of All has set up a special fund called the Smallest Victims Fund to help rebuild the lives of children, the lives these storms simply tore apart. You can donate with a call tonight. All you have to do is call 513-381-0890. Let me repeat that, 381-0890. Local 12 is working with the Cincinnati Enquirer and the local Clear Channel radio stations. The phones are manned right now in the studio, so you can call. We'll talk more about how NKOA gets the most out of every dollar ahead in this broadcast. The tiny river town, this tiny river town that we're in right now, Moscow, took a direct hit from the tornadoes Friday afternoon. And as the storm was preparing to touch down, Local 12's Rich Jaffe was already on the way towards Claremont County. Rich is here for a look back at what this place was like just 5 days ago.
Tim, once you were able to tell us what the track of that storm was, it was clear that it was either going to hit near my home around New Richmond or it was going to hit a little bit down the way. At that point, photographer Ed Burkholder and I got in our vehicles and we started heading out this direction. Now, the initial reports told us that there was a touchdown of some sort in Bethel, so that was where we first headed. We got off 275 at 125. But on the way out there, we started picking up scattered scanner traffic that 52 was closed near Moscow. First, we got one blast of that. And then right after we had gotten off the highway, we heard the second report. And then we got the third one. And at that point, we headed over the hills and down into this community.
Trying to get to Moscow, we had to pull off at the Zimmer plant and park. We grabbed our gear and headed out on foot. Emergency vehicles were everywhere. We could see at least one of the buildings at Zimmer had been seriously hit. Telephone poles and lines were a total loss. Then walking down the road toward us, an image burned into my brain. Bill Lloyd, his 2 dogs, and his 5-month-old son, Mason.
Tell me about it.
It was quick. Didn't see it coming at all. Just worried about protecting him is it. And just worrying about getting out of here. That's it. Just trying to go see my wife.
What's the rest of the town like?
There's not much left of it.
Working our way into town, everywhere we looked, shell-shocked people, neighbors checking on neighbors, friends and family. In the fading light, one thing was clear. The closer we got to the river, the worse the damage got. Downed trees and power lines were everywhere, blocking the streets and our passage. Blown-up houses lined the streets. You hear it all the time, but the village really did look like a war zone, and it was. The community on one side, Mother Nature on the other. About 2 blocks away from the river, we found rescue crews hard at work trying to get into the house where Carol Forsty lived. They knew she was there. They didn't know for quite a while whether she was alive or not, so they kept digging and hoping, until they knew for sure that the popular council member would be the village's only fatality. While I was at Carol's house waiting for answers, my phone rang. On the other end was Councilman Ken Jones. He and his wife had gone out for an anniversary dinner, leaving just 15 minutes before the storm hit. Ken wanted to know if his house was still standing. I walked down, looked at it, and told him it was. Today, we were there again.
The biggest surprise is that we've seen tornadoes on television before. We've seen the aftermath before. There is no way that a video camera can adequately show the damage and the destruction. And you see the town that you're used to every day, and all of a sudden a great deal of it's not there anymore. But I do want to say this, that there are a lot of people who approached me and said, what's going to happen to Moscow? Nothing. It'll rebuild.
While on the phone with Ken Jones Friday night, I met his neighbors, Ken and Sharon Chambers.
Kept hearing all this glass breaking, and then you see the tree going by the windows, and it was just unreal.
Sounds like Wizard of Oz.
Yes, yes. But I don't want to be Dorothy.
The Chambers are now living in their basement and rebuilding.
Now you see the possibilities. You see all the hardship and destruction around you, but you've got to keep going. It's a shame you have to see a disaster for the community to come together and things. But, we're all here to help each other.
We'll hear more from Rich Jaffe in just a bit. I want to show you where this Moscow storm went next. These pictures are from Tate Township, the Bethel area. Here a family lost 3 barns on their farm, but amazingly the horses and all the other livestock survived. A short distance away, a man emerged from his basement to discover the storm had taken the roof right off his home. Another neighbor lost acres of trees, and there is no help from the insurance company to clear the fallen timber away. Now, while every tornado is frightening, some do more damage than others. It's a combination of the wind speed created by the tornado and what's in the path of that tornado. The National Weather Service sent 5 assessment teams out Saturday morning to rate the tri-state tornadoes. When the National Weather Service goes out to survey tornadoes, they have to decide usually whether it's straight-line wind damage or if it's tornado damage. Well, in this instance, the National Weather Service had a head start because the tornado signatures were significant and the damage is extreme where tornadoes hit. So from that point, they had to decide whether they were dealing with an EF0 to an EF5 tornado, EF5 being the worst. EF means Enhanced Fujita Scale. They look at 28 different indicators like trees or apartment buildings or single-family homes, and they look at 8 degrees of damage level, and then they decide how strong that tornado is. Here in Holton, they estimate that it's an EF3 tornado. Winds of 145 miles per hour swept through here, and the tornado was 350 yards wide. EF3 to EF5 tornadoes only make up 5% of all tornadoes that occur. 1 of those occurred in Holton. 2 of those occurred elsewhere. This was a couple of big barns down in the Pioneer area of northern Kentucky. National Weather Service did an assessment down here, and yet another EF3 tornado that was on the ground for about 10 miles from northern sections of Grant County into southern Kenton County and even into southern sections of Campbell County. It ran from Crittenden to Pioneer into Fiskburg and then into Morningview with winds of 160 miles per hour. It was about a quarter mile wide, the second of 2 EF3 tornadoes. When tornado assessors from the National Weather Service came into Moscow, Ohio, they found single-family homes completely destroyed. They found brick structures with significant damage and the roof torn off. They found trees, old trees, either uprooted or taken off about halfway up. There was significant, if not catastrophic, damage in the town of Moscow. They estimate this tornado had winds of 160 miles per hour, and the tornado that came through was about a quarter mile wide. It was on the ground for some 20 miles. From southern sections of Campbell County near Peach Grove, it came across the river, destroyed Moscow, and then moved across Claremont County and finally lifted near Hamersville in Brown County. Again, an EF3 in that category of just 5% of all tornadoes that occur. March 2nd was a life-changing event across the tri-state. Meteorologist Scott Dimick is here now to put it in historical perspective.
Severe weather is not uncommon in the tri-state, but what is uncommon is an outbreak like the one we had on March 2nd. From Thursday through Friday, the National Weather Service issued over 300 tornado warnings and over 380 severe thunderstorm warnings nationwide. 16 of those tornado warnings and 5 of those severe thunderstorm warnings were issued right here in the tri-state. When we compare the number of warnings issued in our area late last week with a map of warnings issued during the 2011 super outbreak in the southern and eastern U.S., it's easy to see last year's outbreak was more widespread. But when we focus on severe weather events closer to home, Friday's outbreak was historic. As a comparison, on April 3rd, 1974, 12 tornadoes raked through the tri-state. 2 people were killed in Franklin County, 1 in Adams County, and 5 in Hamilton County. Just outside of the tri-state, an F5 tornado hit Xenia, killing 36 and injuring over 1,100. On April 9th, 1999, an F4 tornado struck Blue Ash in Montgomery, killing 4, injuring 65, and causing $82 million in damage. After looking through the data, there are 3 things that stand out about Friday's event. For the first time ever, the National Weather Service issued a tornado emergency for part of the tri-state. Not once, but twice. A tornado emergency is issued when a large confirmed tornado is heading into a highly populated area. This past weekend, the National Weather Service confirmed 3 major tornadoes in our viewing area. The last time at least 3 major tornadoes were confirmed in our area, and on the same day, was April 3rd, 1974. And perhaps the most alarming fact of all, March 2nd, 2012, now stands as the deadliest severe weather day in the Local 12 viewing area since official records began in 1950. Scott Dimick, Local 12 News.
Some of the most compelling stories from last week's tornado come from northern Kentucky, in Piner and Crittenden, where 4 people lost their lives and hundreds of homes were destroyed. Local 12's Dan Spieler has been in that area reporting the damage since the days the tornado came through.
Near Piner and Crittenden, a lot of homes look like this one here, essentially destroyed. As we were coming into Kentucky Friday night toward the storm along 71, when we got off the highway to seek shelter, we found many other drivers doing the same.
I was just worried as to where the tornadoes was going to be, so we pulled off here.
Getting very windy as well. You can see the American flag blowing in the wind. Then as we got into Piner, we were just amazed by all the trees we saw cut in half, a wide path of destruction. And as we made our way down the street, we began to realize that a lot of homes were gone.
2 of my friends' houses are gone.
I mean, I don't have nothing. There is nothing left.
Throughout the weekend, we found more victims like the Wright family, and what caught our eye first was this rather iconic American flag they put up where their house once stood. And as we got closer, we were amazed by what we saw, really by what we didn't see, which was any trace of their house. The frame, the whole thing was gone, and it was a 2-story home that had been there, just picked up and blown away.
He actually saw their house and barn just get picked up.
I'm happy to be alive.
By the grace of God, spared my children.
Their daughter and her brother were home in the basement. Amazingly, they survived and came up to find there was nothing left. And the homeowner told me he was already making plans to build an in-ground home using that same existing basement there on the site. He doesn't want to live above ground after what happened, and you can't blame him after what he and his neighbors have been through. Of course, 4 people died in Kenton County, including a cancer patient, a woman who was driving down 75 on her way back from getting treatment in Indiana. An elderly couple was also killed, but through it all, the survivors of this storm have been determined to help each other out at every opportunity. By the end of the weekend, they had collected piles of food and clothing and toiletries to help the people in Piner. One woman told us that many of the people helping her clean up were total strangers. Nice to see all the help that has come here in Kentucky, but certainly they'll need a lot of that help in the weeks and months to come. In Crittenden, I'm Dan Spieler, Local 12 News.
Now, that same supercell spawned a new tornado in northern sections of Pendleton County and southern Campbell County. At least 60 homes were destroyed in Peach Grove and California, Kentucky. People here say they were warned but surprised by how quickly the winds picked up. A 2-mile section of Kentucky 10 north of Peach Grove took the hardest hit. Despite the damage to homes and all of the flying metal from barns, no one was killed here. Now, remember tonight, part of our mission is to help the youngest survivors of all of these twisters. Rob and Cammie have a little more on NKOA.
When Mother Nature's fury descends from the sky, any of us can fall victim.
Storms don't just take aim at adults, and when homes are destroyed, children lose everything as well. Tonight, we hope you will open your heart and your wallet to help the littlest victims caught in this path of destruction.
The Neediest Kids of All has established the Smallest Victims Fund to help the hundreds of children in our area who saw twisters turn their lives upside down. NKOA works through school districts to identify children in crisis and their specific needs. It may be shoes, a warm coat, or even the supplies they need to get through school and try to get back to normal.
NKOA enlists the educators who know the children well enough to make sure every dollar makes a huge difference in a young life. Local 12 is teaming with the Enquirer and Cincinnati's Clear Channel radio stations to change some lives for the better. Please take the time to pick up the phone and help the neediest kids of all.
The number is 513-381-0890. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, "A man never stands as tall as when he stoops to help a child."
Why Holton, Indiana? People in a little town of 500 are still wondering about that after the tornado touched down and left. 2 were dead and 2 are still in serious condition.
Very little warning of it whenever it dropped out.
It was so fast, but there were warnings, as we talked about, and some people tried to get to their basements. One woman went into a vault at the bank.
Wondering who has been killed. I'm wondering who has been injured.
When I seen my best friend and bass guitar player lives right across the street over here. His house was gone.
12 trailers or modular homes were gone, picked up, tossed around, some with people inside. The town of Holton was in shock for a day. Then it did what Holton does best.
It's not a community, it's not a neighborhood, it's a family.
The family grew as volunteers came from all over to help rebuild, clean up, donate food, clothes, and cleaning supplies. What no one talked about was moving away.
This is our hometown, and they want to stick it out and rebuild.
The town did stop yesterday for Ron Pickett's funeral procession. A former fireman and EMS, Pickett grew up on the same street in Holton where he died Friday night. As a firefighter, Ron used to go when tornadoes touched down.
And I was always like, thank you, God. And I'm sorry for all those years, it was like, thank God it didn't come to Holton.
After it did hit, Ron's friends stayed with his body until Cheryl got there.
I know he's here. His spirit will never leave this town.
Cheryl and Ron were married 39 years.
Nobody loved me like him. Nobody will ever love me like him.
As Cheryl walks through the debris of her home, she knows she cannot come back to Holton without Ron. She's moving, but she'll always come back to visit.
People that drive through on their way to Cincinnati or they're driving through on their way to Columbus, they're going to say, the tornado went through here? Really? Because people are going to rebuild, homes are going to be back.
Deborah Dixon, Local 12 News.
The supercells that created the tornadoes in our area got started well to the southwest of Cincinnati. The video of the tornado near Henryville is menacing. At this time, tornadoes were not rain-wrapped, and several individuals recorded the tornado rated an EF4 with winds of 175 miles per hour. Now, because there were developed supercells or thunderstorms with persistent rotating updrafts, we could really track the individual tornado makers well with the use of Doppler radar. Meteorologist Don Gum takes us through the winds of a tornado on radar.
The tornadoes that hit the tri-state on Friday looked a whole lot different on radar than the typical kind of tornadoes that we tend to get in the tri-state area. These were much more intense, and we can tell this simply by looking at radar. We're lucky enough down here in Kenton County to have an FAA Doppler radar. They use this for flight safety in and out of the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. This radar had a tremendous view of this supercell thunderstorm as it passed across southern portions of Kenton County. What you see here in red, that's winds going away from the radar. In green, winds going toward the radar. And when you see these colors next to each other, it indicates a circulation. In this case, these colors were bright and they were right up against each other, intertwined within each other. In this case, you tend to get really strong tornadoes. And not only that, we saw something that we hardly ever see on radar. Take a look at this. This is the rain, the reflectivity, but in this case, not everything you see here is rain. Look at that bright area right there. That is actually a debris ball. Things being blown upward by the tornado, the radar beam reflecting off of that. Another way that we could tell simply by Doppler radar image that this was an intense tornado passing across southern Kenton County.
John Gum, thank you very much. Just yesterday, in his continuing trek eastward, Rich Jaffe was in Adams County for the first time for the look at the damage out there. And Rich, you're back now with what was going on in Adams County. We weren't first out there. I mean, we were first out there, but that wasn't the first place we went.
Absolutely. We had to work our way out there.
Right.
As you know, the rural nature of Adams County actually ended up being a lifesaver out there, Tim, because the houses and farms in Adams County are so spread out that the tornadoes really didn't have a whole lot of human targets. And fortunately, the people who live in Adams County are a hardy bunch. A 99-year-old woman was in this mobile home with her son when it was completely flipped over, and while she's in critical condition, Bessie Baldwin at this point has survived. On Vaughn's Ridge Road, this monstrous tree was uprooted right across the street from 98-year-old Orville Groom's house. With his wife in a wheelchair, they weathered the storm wrapped up in quilts and pillows. While 5 houses were lost here, the most extensive damage was to fences and timber across the county. Thousands of trees were destroyed as the storm ripped through the area. As you know, Tim, the people in Adams County were extremely lucky since they actually had 2 tornadoes go through there. One was just west of West Union, the county seat, and the other one just 2 miles east. That's the one that we were watching when we were out there, and the path was very clear. You could see it perfectly as it made its way through those hills.
It wasn't rated as high as the Moscow tornado, but it still did significant damage across the area.
Oh, it definitely did, and you could see its path. I wish we'd been able to get up in a helicopter. Right there you would see just about a straight line just off to the side of West Union, and it moved on, as you know, from there.
As big as these things were, they don't happen often in our area, but we have to be prepared for them without question.
Very much prepared. And one of the things that I noticed over and over again was the asset that the electronic media has become for folks. They were watching your weather forecasts on iPads, they were watching on cell phones, they were watching on all kinds of devices that just a few years ago we didn't have.
Right.
And that's what gave them the opportunity to be safe.
And generally, if they went to the basement, they were safe.
Very
if they
much so.
got to the basement, they were good. The basement is just...
I talked to a lady in Tate Township. She told me she was walking down the stairs watching you on her iPad as she went down there because she knew it was going to hit.
Rich, thank you very much. I appreciate it. The basis for any tornado warning is the county. You have to know which county you live in. Meteorologist Michelle Boulet is here to help you put a family severe weather plan together.
Severe weather can develop quickly, and once a warning is issued for your county, you and your family will need to act fast. So have a plan in place and be prepared. So first things first, get a NOAA weather radio. County siren systems are meant to alert people of dangerous weather who are outside. Monitor severe weather by watching us here on Local 12 and listening to NOAA weather radio. It's battery operated and an important tool when the power goes out. Next, know where the safest place in your home is located. A basement is best, but if you don't have a basement, an interior room on the lowest level, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible is great. Mobile homes are not safe during severe weather. Know where the closest sturdy building is located and head there quickly. Pick a place to meet in case you and your family is separated. Make sure this location is away from your home in case you can't immediately return. And choose an out-of-area emergency contact person as your family check-in contact. This is also helpful in case family members get separated. And last but not least, keep emergency supplies in your safe room. You want to have enough supplies for you and each member of your family to cover at least 3 days. Some of these items include water, 1 gallon per person per day, non-perishable food, extra batteries, also very important, flashlights, matches stored in a waterproof container, but most importantly, a picture of you and your family in the event that you need to provide a photo of a missing family member. And don't forget important items for infants, elderly, and your pets. For a complete list of items, go to our website, local12.com. Be ready year-round. Tornadoes and severe weather can occur at any time, at any day. I'm meteorologist Michelle Boudelet, Local 12 News.
Michelle, thank you very much. Now, part of our mission tonight is to raise money for the neediest kids of all, the Smallest Victims Fund. I'm joined now by someone who knows what a difference NKOA can make. Your New Richmond Elementary Principal, Terry Miller. And Terry, they got hit hard all over the tri-state, and you know what NKOA can do in the school for your students. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, our school counselors and our team and our staff have been working closely with our families to find out what the students' needs are, exactly what they have to have in order to return to school, to have a sense of normalcy. And usually it's just some basic things. You know, the children came to school without book bags on Monday, and they needed a change of clothes. They, in some cases, needed coats and shoes. So just the basic essentials are what we're looking to get for these kids.
70% of Moscow is gone. Do you know any of those kids? Do those kids go to New Richmond Elementary?
Absolutely. Almost all of them attend our school, and all the way from preschool all the way through high school, there were several students that were affected, obviously, by the tornado.
Now, you've worked with NKOA in the past. What kind of organization are they to work for with in the New Richmond area?
They're awesome to work for. They're local. I know our treasurer's office calls and says, we have such and such needs. Can you help us? And it's fast, and it's, you know, the families get the vouchers and they can take the students shopping and so forth. And it's really no hassle, and it's been a benefit in the beginning of school, and now even more so with this disaster.
It's something we can forget about. We see all the trees down, we see the homes gone, but sometimes we don't put two and two together. And there are little ones in there who have gone through this traumatic event, and maybe a new book bag or a new set of clothes or something like that is just going to help that little one get through that time just a little bit better. And the sooner we can make that happen, the better off they're going to be. You must see that as a principal.
Absolutely. It's amazing what a new pair of shoes will do for your spirits.
Right.
Those are just some basic things. We try to provide the support and the emotional support that we can give to the students, but really they won't come to school if they don't have the proper clothing and things like that. So we need them back into school. They need to be in school so their routines can get back to normal.
Having a normal routine is absolutely important.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Problem.
I sincerely appreciate it. I want to urge you to call one more time, because we're going to have those phone lines open till midnight tonight. We have people sitting at the phones right now to take money for this very special fund set up by NKOA, and we urge you to make that phone call. They will be sitting there until midnight tonight with nothing else in their world to do except answer the call and take some money for a new backpack, for everything these kids will need over the course of the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. Please call that number. It's 513-3. We can't stop them. We can only warn on them. Thunderstorms and tornadoes are Mother Nature's way of sort of redistributing the energy across the area, redistributing the energy across the globe. And while we don't live in Tornado Alley, we are susceptible to strong tornadoes in the Ohio Valley. Many have lost loved ones or dear friends. Many have lost homes. All of you will remain in our thoughts and our prayers. I urge everyone to develop a family severe weather plan if you don't already have one. Many went to the basement, or they simply altered their plans as conditions showed severe. And they're here to talk about it. Continue to help and continue to hug your neighbors. This recovery process will take time. Thank you.